Welcome to the first edition of the Big Miss You podcast. I'm your host Laura Kelly, and each week of the lockdown I'm going to be featuring interviews with some of our vendors and our readers, talking about the friendships that the Big Issue has inspired. To keep our vendors safe during the COVID-19 pandemic, the Big Issue is not being sold on the streets right now. We've found ways to continue selling the magazine online and in shops. Thanks to those sales, we can continue financially supporting our vendors. But we know that the human connections are vital too. That's where the Big Miss You podcast comes in. This is our way of maintaining those relationships that are at the heart of the Big Issue, allowing vendors and their customers to exchange messages with each other.
My name's Paul Clarkson. I'm a vendor for the Big Issue. My pitch is Portland Road, outside Sainsbury's and Costa Coffee in Hove. Yeah, I'd like to thank all my customers from Portland Road, and I'd like to thank them all for the loyalty and support, and it makes you feel quite humble. Yeah, I can't wait to see them again. Yeah.
My name's Pamela Clark, and I'm a vendor in Hove, Brighton. We've had text messages of people, that we sell the Big Issue to, that have been sending us their love and asking how we are, which was really important while we're in here.
I'm Rob and Molly. We sold Big Issue at Longfield outside the Waitrose in Kent. It was just crashed down on top of me, do you know what I mean? So to keep myself active, I'd say I'm out every day. Literally after every day I'm out walking. It's not just my income, it's my livelihood as well. I mean, all my customers are just, they're not my customers, it's like an extended family you never know you had.
We've just heard messages there from Paul and Pamela, who are staying in emergency accommodation together in Brighton. You can read more about them in next week's magazine. We've also heard from Robert, who was supposed to be walking from John O'Groats to Land's End with his dog Molly at the moment. He's been gutted to have to put off the charity walk. For our main feature today, we're going to take you to Lincoln High Street, where Richie sells the Big Issue outside the Marks and Spencer's, and where in more normal times you might find him sitting with his customer and friend, Tom. For this podcast, I had to speak to both of them individually on the phone.
Hi, my name's Richie. I'm the Big Issue vendor from Marks and Spencer's on Lincoln High Street. Hope you guys are all well. I really do wish you're all safe and well and coping with this funny situation.
My name's Tom Bridger. I'm an actor. I've lived in Lincoln for a good 20 years now. Been buying the Big Issue off Richie for about 10 years. And I'm living here for the foreseeable while the coronavirus situation works itself out.
Richie was featured in our Vendors You section of the magazine recently. He told us that he's been battling against pain and loneliness during the lockdown. A much-loved key part of his community, Richie was deeply feeling the separation from his friends. Richie also suffers from chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, which has left him with very poor circulation in his left leg. He had been due to have an operation to have the leg amputated in early June, but this has now been put off due to the pandemic. It's been hard for Richie to access treatment at this time. He also told us that he'd been missing his dog Styx, who died a year ago. After reading the article, Tom got in touch with the Big Issue last week to ask us to pass on a message to Richie. In his email, Tom said he was glad to hear that Richie was managing to get on as best as he can in these weird and trying times. He also promised him a cup of tea when this is all over.
I've been a customer of his for so long that I actually can't remember when I first started talking to him. Yeah, and I was thinking about him anyway when I realised what was going to be happening with the Big Issue. But then once I'd subscribed to the digital thing, and then they have the vendors' views, and I saw Richie's interview in that, and that just, it just really made me think about what he must be going through. And because I know he's such a social, chatty person, as you found out from your conversation with him, that I realised it must be quite difficult for him. And also because of health issues I know he was having as well, that this must be quite a frustrating time for him, because he was just on the cusp of getting things sorted out the last time I spoke to him. And then everything's obviously been had to be put on hold.
At the Big Issue, we've been asking our readers to send in messages to their vendors ever since we had to take the hard decision to stop selling the magazine on the street. When I called Richie to pass on the message from Tom, it was really clear how important those messages are.
Tom was once a week regular without fail, and we used to sit and have a cup of tea together and a chat, and absolutely amazing family, and I miss all of my customers really badly, sorry. It's an amazing thing, friendship. Up until 10, 15, 17 years ago, I was just on my own, and then I rescued a little dog, and my whole life changed so much for the better. Unfortunately, the dog's not with us anymore, but I've made some phenomenally fantastic friends along the way, and it's my friends that I just miss so much. They've, like I said, they've supported us so much in the years gone by, and they still do now.
With his friendly and caring demeanour, Richie has built up a really strong network in Lincoln. Tom says that buying the Big Issue has turned into a friendship over time.
I just wanted to start buying the Big Issue, and he was always outside Marks and Spencer's, and just every time I walked into town to see friends or anything like that, I'd pop over and say hello. And at first it was just buying a Big Issue, and then gradually, just each time you start to chat a little bit more, then you introduce yourself by name, and etc. etc. And then, I don't know, before you know it, you're just buying him a cup of tea because you want to, and just having really nice chats with him about what's going on with him and and he asks about you as well, which is very nice of him. I mean, obviously, when you're complaining about certain aspects of your life, and then he sort of casually drops in, I might have to have my leg amputated. It sort of gives you a sense of perspective to your life sometimes, and you feel a bit sort of like, maybe I should not complain quite so much about how late that train was, or but yeah, he's a very inspirational person because of that, for me personally, because of how even reading his Vendor's View thing would have been very easy for him to go deep into just sort of wallowing, and he's not allowing himself to do that, which is a very admirable trait in people, which I don't see a lot.
It's been hard for Richie to be separated from his support network, but as Tom says, he's not someone to get lost in self-pity. Despite the issues he's facing, Richie is still thinking of his vulnerable friends. He told me that he's been saying a prayer for them every week as he applauds the NHS and key workers.
I know it's hard for everybody. I'm just not in a good place mentally at the moment, only because of loneliness and not being able to get out and things like that. It's I love going to work every day and speaking to my friends and customers, and it's what I live for. And I owe those guys so much. Since I've been selling the magazine in Lincoln, we've got housed and got so many genuine caring friends like Tom and his family, and it's a fantastic network and support network, and unfortunately we're in this situation together, and I would love to be able to just go back to work and put all this behind us, but we've got to do this for everyone's safety, so I just can't wait to see everybody. It's hard not knowing if they're okay, if they're in need of anything. I'm a youngish, reasonably young man compared to some of my customers, and I just want to know that they're eating and taking care of themselves, and because we haven't got each other's contact details, I'm just thinking, are they okay? Are they hungry? Are they cold? Do they need something? Can I do something? Every Thursday at 8 o'clock, whilst I'm clapping for the NHS, I also say a little prayer that my friends and customers are safe and well and keep strong. Marks and Spencer's even offered me a full-time job working for them because they know how many of their customers stop and talk to me and buy the magazine, and even some of their staff buy the magazine off me, and it's because we've got a relationship where, yes, I'm a big issue vendor who stands outside their front doors, but I'm the first person people see for Marks and Spencer's at Lincoln High Street, and I've got a lot of respect for them, and they've got a lot of respect for myself. I'm there from 9 till 4 every day. Doesn't matter if it's raining, snowing, blowing a gale. I'm there, and because of that respect, it's a proper relationship, friendship.
Thanks to our readers who have continued buying their magazines either through paper and digital subscriptions or through major supermarkets and newsagents, the Big Issue team has been able to continue supporting Richie while he's been unable to be out on his pitch.
I don't know if you know Holly from Nottingham office. She sent me a text one day last week saying that the Big Issue want to put some money in my account, and would I let her know, which is what I have done. Yes, they've been very, very helpful and supportive. My chemist couldn't get my dressings for my leg a couple of 3 weeks ago, and Holly managed to get some for me. So she got them and sent them through the post for me, which was really, really, really helpful. I know it's hard at the moment for myself, but I haven't got it. Excuse me. I haven't got it as bad as some people out there, which I'm always. I always try and think of others first. Yes, I'm finding it hard, but I've got food in the cupboards now. I've got gas, I've got electric, so I can't really complain. It's just the loneliness that I'm struggling with, but that's my fault for making so many genuine friends over the years. Yeah, it's just a magazine, but it's not just a magazine. It's my whole world, and could you just say to everybody, thank you so, so much for your support, love and kindness over the years. We can all get through this together. We're all in it together, so let's come out the other side together. If there's anything I can ever do for anybody, I will gladly, because you guys have done it for me. Even if that just means, hi Richie. Hi everybody. I miss you all, I love you all, and I just can't wait to get back to work. I love you all, thank you, and thank you so much for your support.
I'd also like to say a big thank you to both Richie and Tom for speaking to us in this first edition of the Big Miss You podcast, and thank you for listening. If you'd like to find out more about how to support the Big Issue or how you can send a message to your local vendor, go to bigissue.com/podcast for more information. We'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to speak to more of our readers and vendors for this podcast. Finally, if you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please do subscribe and leave us a review. The Big Miss You podcast is produced by Laura Kelly for the Big Issue UK, with additional reporting by Liam Geraghty.